Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name is Rodney.
And my name is Zach.
Oh, you came in there. You boasted a week or two ago about how you jump right in. As soon as I finished talking, you anticipated and you cut in. This time I wasn't even sure if you were still there.
Yeah. It's hard to know, Rod, what the right thing to do is. Do you go in high energy right away and, you might risk spinning your wheels there and maybe not even be able to make the first corner. Like how do you know if you've got the setup right? Or do you take a more calm approach, wait for the right slot and, just do everything that's right for you, and make sense for your race. I mean, podcast. So, it's hard to tell. Rod, how are you, mate? It's been at least a week since we've spoken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Melbourne's in lockdown, so there's that. Haven't really gone anywhere, so there's that. I don't think I've left the house in a while. Actually, I drive to daycare and stuff, so that's fun. It's nice to get out in the world. You really realize, I'm already like a bit of an introverted, shy kind of person, so I don't go out of my way to talk to people. But you realize when you're locked up at home that when you go to the cafe or you go to daycare and you're like, oh, wow, the slightest little thing. Yeah, we can have a 20-minute conversation about that.
Yeah. It's funny.
This is what being an extrovert must be like.
People accuse me of that. I'm not sure.
Oh boy, I am so sure.
Can you remember? Can you remember how long we knew each other before, or we were working together as well, before we knew that we both liked Formula One?
Oh, geez. It would have been not that long, I think.
I still reckon it was months.
It can't have been that long. But I thought months wasn't that long.
Yeah, you're right. In the length of our friendship, no, it's not.
Maybe a month. I mean, but the thing is, we both like cricket. We both liked indie music. There were lots of things that we both liked, and tech, and just gadgets and stuff, and just being cool and shit. I mean, I did famously tell you I don't like any TV shows or any music as a way of just setting the ground level to be like, if you say your favorite thing and I say I don't like it, you've been warned. But other than that, I think we both like stuff. And then Formula One was the thing that we like, which I just remembered now that this is what this show is about, that we should be talking about. This week was the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a race that was not even conceived when Zach and I both realized we both like Formula One. But we're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk about fantasy, and I've got a quiz later, and Zach is going to see if he can recap this race in 30 seconds when we get to the race review. So, I don't know. I guess, is there any other pending business before we proceed?
Singapore was cancelled. A race that's close to both of our hearts.
Singapore is cancelled.
And it looks like more races are probably going to be cancelled, or that there's a chance with... We won't talk about the big bad thing that's happening across the world, or it continues to happen because people come here for escapism. But it is a factor of the sport, and the fact that the FIA apparently are scrambling to be like, Liberty Media too are like, we still want to do 23 races, and the world's like, but where would you even have them?
Where? So, there's only so many vaccines they can make as well. Is the problem. So unless they can just inject planefuls of vaccine ahead of wherever they go, then there's going to be problems. I think I'm sad to say that I think Singapore's probably one of the ones that's going to lead the charge of races falling like dominoes. The thing about Singapore too is that they've kind of got to shut down the city to do it, and then it's only worth doing that if people are going to come, and then if people can't come, then it's really just not worth it at all, is it? So I'm not surprised that's one of the first ones to fall, but I think there'll probably be at least a few others that fall as well.
Yeah, the ones that are at tracks out in the wilderness somewhere, in the Styrian hills, easier to have 30 races there than it is to just have one in the central part of the city.
Yeah, I think we might see more announcements like that. This race is gone, but don't even worry, because we're going to have two at this place that no one's even heard of before.
Yes, a six race Abu Dhabi finish for the season.
Yeah. For increasing number of points with each race. Anyway, this week was the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Let's get into talking all about it.
Let us race a bit. I gave him space.
Let's hurry up and get out of here. We've got a race to do.
Zach, my finger is on the button, on the clock timer. You've got only 30 seconds and you have to recap the entire race. You feeling good? You like your chances?
I'm scared because I watched this race at a venue, at a pub And now I'm getting a bit sweaty thinking about why can I remember all the things that happened? Like I have watched the highlights again and I've read recaps and I've got notes in front of me, but all of this, I'm getting stressed. I'm literally vibrating. So, you know me, I'll make sure I get to all the key things, and definitely not focus specifically on one part for about 25 seconds. So I'm ready.
Look forward to that. Everybody, everybody time for yourselves how much time Zach spends talking about the first lap and then leaves himself only 4 seconds to recap the remaining 51 laps. All right, let's get into it. Here we go. Here's your timer.
This was one for the true fans, legacy fans, the throwback fans, because, oh my God, look at that. Sebastian Vettel on the podium in second. That's what we all wanted. And we had exploding tires too. And look, there was a castle at the track. So this is really one that shows, if you've been paying attention for the last 15 years of Formula One, it's all of the things that mattered to you. But neither Hamilton nor Verstappen finished because they both had made mistakes or had problems. Tires exploded, but we ended up with Sergio Perez winning. And what that means, that Red Bull are in front everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. That did happen. Very good.
God.
You recovered. I look 5 out of 10 for the initial effort, but 20 out of 10 for the recovery.
Yeah,
that was
bad.
Pretty damn good. Well, the thing is, you made it look, you sold the dummy by making it look really bad at the start to make the recovery look even better.
I'm so bad at those. I'm not getting any better at them. I'm not getting better at them.
What do you think you would? So, I mean, I'm exactly the same. You think you would get better the more you do, but unfortunately, you get in your head about it. Anyway, so the race. I think we were sort of saying before we started recording how there was kind of two big things and then the rest of it was all kind of small fries, but anyway, good podium in the end, an unexpected podium, an unpredictable podium. It turns out, I've done a bit of research into Azerbaijan, maybe for the Superquiz later.
Ooh.
But this track turns up crazy results and weird things are afoot in Azerbaijan, basically. And we've had 4 races there now. This is race number 4. We didn't go there last year, but 3 of them were pretty out there, wild kind of races.
I think that there's something about the track layout that does this. You've got a really, it's like a highway for that straight that people can overtake on, right? It's really long. It's got DRS. It's a good leveler for, especially in the midfield. But then there are a few corners, especially the Castle Complex area, those little chicanes there where people can just get it. Like if you get it wrong going into one corner, you're fucked for the next one. And it goes bad really fast. And we saw that, drivers have to make very quick decisions about whether they're going to pull out of those corners or not. And if they're going to pull out, it's like you've got to make a decision almost as the second you make a mistake or the second you notice that you're not going to make a round, you've got to pull out. And if you don't, you're straight into the next wall. Which, I was surprised. I felt like we went for so long without a safety car. I was like, we're going to get 3 safety cars this week. We've got so many bad drivers on the grid these days. But it didn't really happen that way. But it threw up, I don't think anybody would have picked this result. How do you feel about podiums like this, where you get Perez, Vettel, Gasly, none of the what I would call the front runners, except maybe Perez? Do you like that, or does this make this race a bit of a nothing for the context of the season?
The thing for me is that it's hard to get my feelings in check in terms of what do I think about the achievement that these drivers have made? Because you could look at Perez and go, he won. Good for him. And, good on him. Well done. But having said that, he kind of it just fell in his lap. It's the same with Vettel. Did he drive really well? Is the old Vettel back? Or did this result kind of just fall in his lap? Did he just manage to not get into any wheel-to-wheel racing and then everyone else around him, in front of him, either wasn't on the pace or just fell away? You know what I mean? Because you go, Bottas was just nowhere, but that wasn't Vettel's doing or Perez's doing. We'll get to that. Verstappen out, Hamilton, kamikaze, suicides himself. And, the main competitors for the people like you, Sebastian Vettel's, just weren't on the pace. Like your McLarens or your Alpines, they just weren't anywhere to be seen. So he kind of did nothing, but it just flukes it in for a podium. So I didn't look at the podium and go, man, I feel so good for everybody involved, because it's like, well, what have you done other than that? When Lando Norris,
what have you done for me recently?
Man, you have been slogging it out and you've just been driving the wheels off that thing and you finally got a result. you've earned that result, not necessarily today, but other days. Whereas Vettel, I go, well, you're just on the podium, but have you earned it other days? Have you had other amazing drives that this is just a reward for your efforts for? I'm not sure.
Yeah, can leave. I think at the time I love it, and then when it comes to picking apart a race, or really reflecting on it, which is when you have to take the longer view, right? Then it can become a little bit more like, oh yeah, like that was just a bit lucky. And I suppose with this, it's a little bit mixed, right? Because I actually thought that Pierre Gasly had a pretty rock solid race. Obviously, Vettel had a good race too. You know, the spin master himself maybe recovering a little bit of form, and people seemed really happy about it as well. Like he was voted driver of the day, I'm pretty sure.
Some people were way too happy, and I don't understand it.
Because I don't think he was ever bad enough to not like very much. Maybe it was just we loved Mark Webber so much, you know, that anything Vettel did was like they were nemesis. But
that's kind of true, though. I
don't think the rest of them they're either ambivalent about him or kind of like him. And I think he's the Formula One daddy now. You know, I think he's just it was nice for him. He's not pretending to be cool like Alonso. Like Vettel doesn't have like a clothing brand and is like, I'm still a cool young F1 driver. Vettel's like, no, I'm older and I'm, you know, and I'm lucky to be here, I suppose. And I'm kind of just glad for the team and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like a lot of his frustration has maybe melted away. Maybe he's come to terms with where he is in his Formula One career. And he's probably not sure he's ever going to get another podium. So to get one, he was just like, yeah, great. And I think everybody kind of felt that way too, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember what episode it was, but I feel like I said that in terms of like the combination of Vettel and Stroll and going to, you know, what's charitably called a midfield team. I think that the pressure is just so completely off, and that he's just thriving in that environment. It's almost like
he's
when he was at
comfortably
Red
better
Bull
than
and
Stroll,
everything.
right?
Comfortably better, but also no one cares.
Yeah.
Like there's no eyeballs on him. But like when he was at Red Bull and his car was streets ahead of everyone else, there was no pressure because he just knew he was just going to win because the car was just that good. And then now he's in the same position because he doesn't really have to fight. There's really kind of no pressure in terms of just other than the pressure that he puts on himself. But that seems to be his strength, is he doesn't put that pressure on himself the way Hamilton would, the way name your driver, Verstappen, Ricciardo, those pair drivers put pressure on themselves. But Vettel just doesn't do that.
No, I think you're exactly right. Do you think that Sergio Perez is in actually a somewhat similar position? Like this is kind of the dream move, or what I would imagine would be the dream move at that stage in your career, to go to a team that's in a pretty rock solid position, finally got it hooked up this week. You know, we've been saying all season that if he can just be better than Bottas, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Mercedes at the front of the field, in the constructors especially, which is essentially where we got to this weekend. He seems like a man who's happy with his spot too.
I mean, he really played the Valtteri Bottas role this week, didn't he, for Red Bull? And the idea is get there, muck up the other driver's race if you can, and just be there to score points, be on the podium, take the win if it's on offer. He just did exactly that. I mean, he was fast. He did run a good race, but at the same time, it's like, well, would you have won if Verstappen finished? Probably not. Would you have won if Hamilton had finished? Probably not. Would you have won if Valtteri Bottas was even half decent this weekend? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So it's, again, I just sort of go like, well, good on you. Like, I'm glad that you got to win, of course. And, you know, take those results when they come, because they don't come all the time. But at the same time, I look at that podium and I go, the opportunity for a team that wasn't Red Bull to win was so high. Come on, give this to me. I was thinking back to my prediction before at the start of the season saying 4 different teams are going to win this year, and two have won so far, but this was the race. These are the races that I need to swing in my favor. I need a weird result where, you know, Lando Norris wins one or Gasly wins one or something to get to my 4 for the year. It's pretty selfish really of him not to give the win to Vettel for those reasons. But
do you think Christian Horner would have been a little more comfortable there though, with knowing that, well, on the restart, I mean, lap 49 or 50, whatever it was, 49, I'm pretty sure, heading into 50, that it's like, well, it's experienced Formula One driver Sergio Perez, not Albon / Gasly / Kvyat / whatever 18-year-old they'd rustled up from the fourth series, whatever. You know, but this was, if there was somebody who could take advantage in that situation in a non-crazy way, it was bankable Sergio Perez.
Good old bankable Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
I'm sure his foot would have been less trembly. He would have required fewer ankle massages at the end of the day, for sure. So we maybe talk about the tyre failures. We've got Stroll and Verstappen who both have tyre failures and then just sort of like jackknife 90 degrees into the wall. That's been a big talking point, and obviously the finger was pointed at Pirelli, but I feel like I wish I could remember what race it was, but there's a race not that long ago where the same thing happened to Russell and he just mysteriously straight into the wall, seemingly for no reason. And then there's been previous tyre failures at this track. So, I mean, I just don't know who to blame. I don't know who to be angry at. I don't even know if I am angry.
Am I angry?
It's a hard one to work out.
You're probably angry.
Am I angry? Maybe I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, have a Snickers. You know you when you're
have
hungry.
A Snickers.
Angry. One of them.
True.
I think it's a difficult one because Pirelli are going to really easily be able to like pull any tire off anybody's car that was bad and be like, look at all the debris that was on the track. It's like, yeah, but maybe your initial tire blowout caused that debris. Like
well,
for the second time.
I mean, there were a lot of cars in the wall this week.
Yeah,
so
that's true. So it's scary though. I'm glad that Paul di Resta actually pointed that out.
For sure.
Especially with Stroll, we didn't see him like leap out of the car. He was there for a while, and it was like, I hope he's awake. So just to jack it up, like it was like literally someone had sniped, sniper rifle bullet straight into one of the rear tires. It just went sideways, like a pit maneuver or something. You see the police do that to cars they're trying to take off the road, and it was just explosive and crazy and scary, especially when it happened to Verstappen, later in the race, just totally out of nowhere. It's so funny, right? Because remember last week we were talking about how people were like, I wish we knew what tires everyone were on and they weren't hiding it from us with with the softs, mediums and hards. And then of course all of the discussion this race, like post race, is like, oh, did Pirelli choose the too soft of a compound for this race? And everyone's like, wait a second, I thought there only were 3 compounds. When of course we know that's not true. So yeah, Pirelli are just in a hard spot. Because you want degradation, of course, but you just don't want them just randomly exploding. And what I thought was interesting is we got a couple more radio snippets of teams talking to Michael Massey, the race guy. I can never remember what the race organizer, what's he called? The race boss, race dude.
Oh boy, technical director, something like that.
Yeah, race director. Is that it?
Race director,
that feels right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and the FIA essentially. And hearing Red Bull just like, we had no fucking clue that was happening, man. Like everything was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
All the tire pressures were right. We didn't think there was a lot of wear on that tire. It came out of nowhere. And to hear them say, we think you should red flag the race I'm pretty sure it was them, was interesting because like we got that retro like just after they had red flagged it, but it gave some nice context. So more of that.
Well, the thing about that, I think it was good. I think they made the right call, obviously. But I think that people are sort of saying, oh, well done, Red Bull, for saying, let's red flag this race, let everybody change the tires, and then let's restart. You got to remember, though, their driver was in front, and they were like, what happens if Hamilton wins and the tire blows out on our other car? I just don't know that it was completely like altruistic. But,
and we've got these hydraulic problems on our car as well that we'd maybe like to be.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, look, I mean, the tire things itself, I mean, it should be investigated. I hope it's investigated. I hope they work out what happened and get to the bottom of it. I mean, we've seen worse tire incidents than this one, but it's been a little while since people were really complaining about Pirelli, but we're back on the Pirelli whinging train. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
What did you think of the pink bags they were putting on the wheels?
What pink bags? I didn't see these.
Oh, well, because as the cars were being lifted onto their flatbed trucks, the Pirelli guys were putting these like opaque pink bags over the tires so that nobody could see, or over the wheels, I think, so that no one could see what was actually wrong with them.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
It's weird. Or maybe they were just trying to preserve them.
I might have, sometimes when there's an incident, there's going to be a delay. You sort of take that opportunity to go and have a personal break. So I don't know. Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
What else happened in the race, though? There's a little bit here and there. Obviously, one of the other big talking points, but other than just like the ones that were manufactured by the carnage and the drivers crashing and stuff, was Bottas just being completely MIA yet again. And he's really driving like the guy who's been absolutely told, enjoy every race because, this is going to be the end of the ride for you.
Yeah, it's rough to watch. And there were lots of the people I was watching the race with had questions about why Bottas was so bad.
Well, yeah.
Which it's difficult
Rightly
to
so.
answer. If Hamilton's right up there, like it's not like Mercedes were badly set up for this race. I mean, Hamilton is extremely good at driving his car regardless of circumstances. But
Yes.
you're right. Nowhere is exactly right. He was just missing. Which is kind of, he's not doing himself any favors, which is usually how Bottas has come back at things, right? Like he's usually, all right, well, if it's not going well, I will find a way to make my presence known. But he's not anything. So
he clearly didn't have much pace, and I mean, I don't think he enjoys finishing as badly as he does. So something clearly is up, but you know, Hamilton has this weird lunge and then finishes last or 15th or something, and then Bottas is like only 13th, and then you just sort of wonder, like, is he walking into the post-race conference and then going, "You're 15th and I'm 13th, eh?" Yeah, Bottas delivers again. Old Mr. 2 places ahead of Hamilton. Best you could do is 15th? I did 13th. You're pathetic.
I know what the brake buttons are, and I know how to correctly choose them. So,
well, that's true. I mean, you know, that's completely valid. when he needed to drive well and do the right thing, Hamilton didn't do it, but at least he had a go at the win. I don't know. There's much else to say about Bottas other than something I think else was afoot other than his lack of talent, but his lack of talent didn't help this week.
Yeah. Puts a lot of pressure on the Constructors' Championship though, right? So, you know, where do we end up? I'm just pulling it up now.
Go ahead.
Well, Red Bull 174 points, Mercedes 148, and then Ferrari 94, McLaren 92. So it's very much a case of 2 horses at the front, and then the team that is the horse, and then McLaren fighting it out with that horsey team. Do you think that this is going to change Mercedes' approach? And implied in that question, you know what happens when you put pressure on Mercedes? They're not great with pressure.
Well, I mean, they're certainly going to be better when there's no pressure, but a little bit of pressure I think does drive them, but they don't like being they like pressure that motivates them, but not enough that scares them. When they get scared, I think is when they're no good. I think that you sort of look at this race and go, well, the result that we've got was weird. Okay, that's fine. Who wins out and who lost out the most? Because you could easily say, well, Mercedes got no points. And their main championship rival got the maximum. So there's that. But you could also look at Verstappen and go, well, if you hadn't crashed and then Hamilton didn't take that lunge, let's say it's Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton. That really is a great result for Verstappen because he was already slightly in front of the championship. And we talked last race about how, you know, I think Hamilton had the better year up until that point, but Verstappen somehow kept himself in the challenge. And to be virtually level on points was I think, not reflective of where the two teams were over the course of the season so far. But this was the opportunity for Verstappen to pull ahead of Hamilton even further. And then for both of them to be neutralized is a lost opportunity for Verstappen more than Hamilton is what I'm trying to get at. But then, there's the championship, the team championship, which usually one team just runs away with. So I don't know if this benefits or hurts anyone in particular, but if you're in competition with someone and they get the maximum and you get nothing, that's obviously not good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that it's probably moving into a part of the calendar now where Mercedes will start to look, will say like, well, we don't feel like we're at a disadvantage.
True.
I know there's flexible wing conversations that have to happen, but that is not for this show. Tell me.
No, when there's something to say, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out. I wanted to just continue on Perez a little bit. We've got Verstappen on 105 points, Hamilton on 101, and Sergio Perez on 69. Nice. And Norris on 66. But out of Norris and Perez, who's going to probably get more podiums? It's going to be Sergio if things continue in the way they do at the front between Mercedes and Red Bull, if Bottas is not really around and Perez is there following on Verstappen's coattails. So at what point does Hamilton start looking over his shoulder? How close? How many points? Give me a points and over-under on points of where Hamilton should be worried if Perez is getting close.
I I think that he could even be ahead and Hamilton wouldn't necessarily be worried. I mean, he takes it race by race, day by day, session by session. And I'm sure that he goes into second by second, corner by corner, gear change by gear change.
By gear change, exactly.
Yeah. Thought by thought. He goes into any race thinking I can win, and that will hurt the guy behind me. And I mean, I don't think that he would worry about that for a long time, to be honest, because they've been in such good form. I mean, having said that, I'm saying when they're in good form, he would be confident. When they've had, successive races where they've been completely off the pace, that's when he gets worried. Even this race, though, they weren't really off the pace. I mean, they didn't take pole, but pole was stupid. He had a bit of trouble following, but then at the same time, he had no trouble keeping in touch. So it's not like they were just completely nowhere. These aren't the kind of races that would destroy his confidence in that regard, I don't think.
No, I agree. I think, it's going to take a lot to kind of swap that around, but yeah, Mercedes one DNF for Hamilton and, a win for Verstappen and Perez in second. It's more likely, or it seems more likely right now that we're going to see first and seconds from Red Bull than we are going to see them from Mercedes, which seems wild.
Yeah.
But
1-2 finishes from Mercedes are going to be few and far between.
Yeah, which only then means that Hamilton has to make sure he finishes all of these races. No DNFs.
Super true.
For Mercedes is where it needs to be, I think, which is, again, I think a weird thing to say. Would you like to talk about anything more from La Race?
I just want to touch on Haas because one of the things that happened, I was watching this race live. I haven't watched many races live this year, but this one was a little bit earlier, so I sat up. And then when there was like a half an hour delay for only 2 laps of racing, I was like, oh man, I just don't know. And then Hamilton, went down the escape rope, and I was like, oh wow, that's cool. And then it turned out I didn't see this live, but it turns out on the last straight, Schumacher passed Mazepin to pinch that position. It was like, minor places. It was nothing exciting. But on replays, you could see that Schumacher sort of closing, pulling around, and then Mazepin just sort of gives him an old sort of Chico Perez on Ocon style. Oh, you want to go there? Well, let's just see how good you are, and pushes him over. And I was like, oh boy, that's super rude for a nothing position. Mazepin said later, like, yeah, I was clearly ahead of him. I clearly could have maintained that position, except that I had a car problem and I was running out of energy. And, I was just annoyed at that. I just didn't want him to pass me for something that wasn't my fault. That didn't seem fair. But at the same time, it's just, there's a bit of aggro there. And the first time that Schumacher has kind of just gotten on the radio to blast the son of the team owner, basically. So, yeah, just interesting dynamics there, I think, between those two.
Yeah, it's difficult because they're both entitled in different ways, right? That you've got the son of the owner, absolutely. Major sponsor, who is like, I can kind of do no wrong and I'm going to be fine. Like, whatever I do, I'm still going to be here next week. And knows his future in Formula One, basically relies on continued sponsorship by his father in Formula One. Whereas Mick Schumacher comes with, he's got obviously great pedigree and has been, and I don't just mean from his dad, I mean from he's been racing and winning championships in junior formula, that kind of thing. But probably, and I've articulated this offline before, outside of the podcast, Ferrari have owned this narrative that they are a duty of care to Mick Schumacher. And I just can't, it seems to me that it's probably a lower barrier for Mick Schumacher to have a successful Formula One career and even just end up at Ferrari at some point, regardless of, he's going to have to perform pretty badly to be dropped out of Formula One, just generally. His trajectory looks like, he'll be out of Haas into Alfa Romeo probably when Raikkonen retires, which could be the end of this season. And then a year at Alfa Romeo, a little bit further up the field, or 2 there. Something doesn't work out for one of the Ferrari drivers. And suddenly I can imagine season 2025, welcome Mick Schumacher to Ferrari. That's not outside the realms of possibility without him having to do anything spectacular.
Yeah, the thing is, if he does really well, he'll get promoted maybe a bit earlier. If the team are not doing that well, they'll be chasing that prestige. So they'll be like, look, we signed Schumacher, we brought him in. I mean, it's kind of win-win for him, really. And even if he just sits around in Formula One for a few extra years, doesn't matter. He won't hurt, and he'll only develop into an even better driver. But speaking of things, Speaking of things that people are good at, let's have a look at the fantasy focus. So we're going to whip through some results. We've got to just keep it a little bit quick and tight this week. I'm going to go through the top 3 for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Team number 3, Vetelicious by Marie Harling. Team number 2, High Rake the Forest by Big Nickhouse, doing pretty well this year. And team number 1, taking the top step for this race in Azerbaijan, Dynamo Donuts Racing by Blind Sniper. Dynamo Donuts. It sounds good. I don't know what it's a reference to, but it sounds real good. I can see very quickly that I'm on the 3rd page of results for this race. Amplified Ducks Racing on 101 points. At least I got into the century. Behind me, 1 position, Zero Engineering, Zach Priest on 100, a pathetic 100 points, as opposed to me on my glorious 101 points. Look how close that was. It couldn't be closer this week between us.
So bad. Our teams must be really similar.
You must be filthy.
Or our predictions.
But how could they must be, maybe I got a bonus point in the pre-race predictions or something. We might have the actual same drivers and teams, but I got 1 extra pre-race prediction thing right. I don't know. It's weird.
That could be it.
Jump into the season league results. Have you got those?
Yeah, I've got that up. In position number 3, a lot of hustle, no movement there. From kilogram 955, 932 points. Yucknut and French Ghastly from Fluger, 934, no change there. Position 2. So everybody managed to stay in positions 2 and 3 very clean. It seems like, is that the case, or am I just not getting? It could be that the movement of plus and minus on this page actually doesn't show. So people could have been moving around, but I think there's something wrong on the back end of Fantasy GP. But we love you, so don't take that as critical feedback. And High Rake the Forest, still in position number 1. And now my page is just reloaded for some random
Becoming
reason.
a solid front runner, I'd say.
But still in number 1. You know who you are. High Rake the Forest. It's Big Nickers, right? Didn't we just say that?
I've closed the tab
to
get ready for the next thing.
973 points.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. No, I read it up. I got there.
Doing very, very well.
It's tight at the top.
It is tight. It's tight everywhere. Make sure you're getting those bonus predictions, everybody. And if you've thought about changing your team, you want to change back, maybe now's the time to do it. Except unless you're that person who messaged us and said, I've already changed my team 7 times. Like, man, there's only been 6 races, so maybe chill out if you hit your limit for changes. How about we switch it up with a super quiz?
Do it.
We will accept a couple of questions. Should one only win one? Would one want to have won that one in round 1?
Can you repeat the question?
And by switch it up, I mean do exactly the thing that we always do, and is probably the most predictable thing that we're going to do. But we're going to have a quiz about Azerbaijan. It's a Quizabajan, Zach. Are you feeling familiar with recent F1 history in Azerbaijan?
Quizabajan. Yeah, I'm down.
Pretty good. You can't come up with a name like that and then not do a quiz about it. Okay, we've only had, other than this race, we've only had 3 previous races in Azerbaijan. They've all been memorable for bizarre things happening. We're going to have a look at them. So I've got 2 questions about each of the 3 races, making 6 in total. I don't need to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's redundant. I know there's 6 questions because 3 times 2 is 6. Zach, are you ready for question number 1?
Yes, please.
2017, while following Hamilton behind the safety car, what weird thing did Vettel do that earned him a penalty and cost him a podium finish?
What weird thing who was it? Vettel. 2017. What did he do?
Yeah.
Is that the race where they banged
Behind the
tires?
safety car. Yes, absolutely. He pulled alongside Hamilton and bumped him, showed him who was boss by guaranteeing that he lost his podium position. That served him right. But the other weird thing that happened in that race, Hamilton could have easily won, but he was forced to pit unexpectedly to fix what part of his car?
Forced to pit unexpectedly. Was it seatbelt?
No, not seatbelt.
Wasn't seatbelt related? I can't remember. I'm just going to say front wing.
No, front wing. It was his headrest. The thing around his neck. It was coming loose as he went down the straight. Remember him trying to hold it down? Like hold the steering wheel with one hand, hold it down with the other.
I think that's why I went seatbelt, because that's why I had
I
that
was
part
going
of
to
the
say
memory.
you're kind of in the right area, but you're sort of not, so I didn't want to mislead you. Anyway, weird things happening in Azerbaijan. They make them weird. Okay, that was 2017. Everyone obviously could not forget that other than us. 2018, which driver had the win in the bag right up until a puncture dropped him out of the points positions?
What year was this, sorry?
2018.
2018. Which driver had the win in the bag until a puncture? I should know this. I should be able to remember this. Max Verstappen.
Incorrect. It was Valtteri Bottas, who on that day finished P14, which I think is one better than he finished today. So,
well,
not that bad. Not that bad of drop, really, if you think about it. Question number 2 for this race. Red Bull also had an event to forget with Ricciardo and Verstappen crashing into each other. Bad news. Team principal Christian Horner was so upset he forced both drivers to do what?
Oh, he forced both drivers to not do any fun social media videos that week. And they felt so bad about it. They couldn't joke around at all for a whole week.
This is like a real punishment that a principal or a teacher would give you.
Yeah, didn't they have to like shake hands and make up? Wasn't that it? Like they had to have a little chat together and shake hands?
It's like it's in that world. It's not exactly that kind of thing, but they had to. Christian Horner forced both drivers to apologize to every member of the team.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes.
We're so sorry. I'm so sorry that Verstappen hit me. What? No, nothing. I was just apologizing for what I did.
He braked fast and he drove into him.
He shouldn't have broke so fast. Yeah, well, he shouldn't have accelerated so fast. And they punched onto each other. Remember that? It was fun. Bit of info. 2019, Zach. Again, Ricciardo is involved in an incident, this time after pulling down the escape road and then doing what very silly thing?
He reversed back out into somebody, right?
Yeah, reversed right into Daniil Kvyat, who was right behind him. Doi. That was dumb. On that day, though, Valtteri Bottas claimed the victory. What was unusual about his win?
Valtteri Bottas claimed the victory on that day. What was unusual about his win? Repeat
given the context of this race, of this quiz, what was unusual about the win?
He won behind the safety car?
No, it was an unusual victory because there was nothing unusual about it. It was just run-of-the-mill, lights to flag straightforward, unlike the other 5 questions that I wrote for this quiz. So there you go. If you thought that this was the first weird Azerbaijan race, think again.
Azerbaijan. I like that.
Azerbaijan. I wonder how many other races we have where you can make a quiz pun out of the name.
No. None.
Because Australia doesn't work.
Right now.
No. Quiz pan? Nah, no good.
No.
These are all bad.
Quinese, Quiznese, Drumbry,
Quiz Tish.
Fucking hell.
Quiz United States. None of them else. None of the other ones work. None of them work. Quizida. Quizanida.
No.
We'll stick with it. Stick with Azerbaijan. Well, there you go. There's a new thing. Every time there's an Azerbaijan Grand Prix, we'll do a quiz. How about that? Well, Zach, I mean, what have we left ourselves to do? We've talked about the race when we did a quiz. For heaven's sake, what more would you want from us? I guess maybe like some kind of a final thought or something.
Yeah. My final thought is that I
you got something in the chamber?
Brundle. I like Martin Brundle.
You miss Martin Brundle. Okay, cool.
But I prefer Paul di Resta.
Oh, so you would have a Brundle di Resta Festa. A Brundle di Resta Festa in the Siesta.
Gee.
That would be best.
Get rid of Croft. No, that's harsh. I think I would.
All 3? Do you want 3? Why don't they have 3 commentators? Serious question. Why don't they have 3?
This is something that happens in football on big
Every
games.
other sport.
They do this. They have 3. Really big games. They have 3.
Give them 3.
Yeah, 3 would be
have
good.
to say
But maybe
so
that's what
much. They have
SkyPad
to-
is. Maybe that's we'll go to
don't
Anthony
give me
Davidson
that.
on the SkyPad.
But they could still do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just-
that's what I say.
I like having a
give us
driver
3.
who's a more recent driver there to give more recent driver insight
Things.
than Martin Brundle, who's like, I drove that car at a test day one time and by jeebus, it's fast. It's like, I know, mate, but you're also 100 years old.
Yeah, man, I drove here in a taxi. Boy, it was fast. I went
around on my electric scooter earlier.
Boy, it was fast.
Yeah, so that's my point. I want more more Paul di Resta in my life, in the commentary. So Martin Brundle, what that means is, feel free to, and David Croft as well, feel free to sub in and out. But I think that the reason why you can't replace Crofty is because he does the sports commentator role, right? He's the straight man. He does the intros and outros. He asks the questions.
He's the hype man. He's the talk loud man. He's the shouty man.
Yeah, the shouty man. He's the shouty man. Exactly. Also, I have just another final thought to add on to that, which is that, as I mentioned, I watched this race in a venue on the weekend at a pub, bar, brew pub place, and everybody else there was watching Formula One too. And there was audible gasps, cheering, screaming whenever things happened, especially those last parts of the race. And it was exhilarating and fun. So I didn't know all of those people. I knew some of them, but for the people I knew, it was really, really, really fun. Shout out to Zoe and Alison. And to the people I didn't know, thanks for bringing up the vibes, guys.
You didn't know them, but you're all friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Strangers as friends you haven't made yet.
I'm going to ask you to open your Slack and have a look at the thing that I'm about to send you. I watched this race. I said the other week I was going to watch this race, maybe with no commentary, and I did. It was great. And I found a channel that shows multiple camera views in one. Fantastic. And no commentary, just race sounds, drivers' radios, which was really good. I had a good time. Didn't miss Brundle at all. But I did note, one of the things I noticed was how vampiric one of the drivers is. So when there's nothing else to distract you and a driver's photo pops up, you get to get a good look at it, and your thoughts just get to wandering. And I remember a while ago talking about how vampiric Marcus Ericsson looked, and I had a theory that maybe he had converted someone else into a vampire, and I think it was Antonio Giovinazzi. And I'm going to send you a photo right now. This is the official FIA driver photo for Antonio Giovinazzi. Let's get your reaction live to tape. Here's Antonio Giovinazzi. This is what he looks like. Pretty vampiric, if you ask me. Zach, would you want to describe what you're looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is probably Antonio Giovinazzi.
Probably.
Probably. I mean, he does have, I think he's probably put some dye in his goatee
maybe
for this photo, and maybe grown his hair just a smidge longer. Maybe that is Marcus Ericsson putting the bunny ears.
It could be him giving
head.
the bunny ears. Yeah, I just sent Zach a photo of Jermaine Clements' character from what we do in the shadows. But for reals, this is the photo of Antonio Giovinazzi, the official driver photo. Tell me that those are two different people, because they look identical.
No, so what this is, Rod, is that imagine if an American production house was like, we're going to turn what we do in the shadows into we're going to give it a gritty teen heartthrob reboot.
Ooh, Netflix spin-off.
That character. Yeah, Antonio Giovinazzi is the recast actor for that.
Keeping up with the Giovinazzians.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, he's a good looking lad.
They
all are. Right? All the Formula One drivers are good looking these days.
I guess that's kind of true, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was my thought, was that, number one, enjoyed watching the race with my audio, preferences of choice. And then also Giovinazzi, definitely a vampire. So I'm back on the vampire train. Just hope that, if Mick Schumacher comes sniffing around, all he needs is some garlic or a little steak, and Giovinazzi will just fold like a card table.
All this vampire chat, it's usually just being blah, blah, blah. My fun vampire joke. I hope you enjoyed
nice.
That.
Good stuff. That. Good stuff. That's what people tune in for. Speaking of tuning in, there's no race next week, so there's going to be another exciting edition of Dare to Swear. We'll be covering, I think, season 3, episode 7. We're really ticking these off.
Do you want to guess at the name? Do you want to give me a name guess?
Oh, we're not at the ones that I'm confident about yet. This one's going to be called a spicy meatball.
Wow. Wow. I'm looking forward to finding out who that's going to center around.
Crofty, or is it called the Moonlit Dance, and it's about Giovinazzi being attacked under a bridge by Marcus Ericsson?
Yeah. Have you noticed he only performs really well at night races? You only ever really see him interviewed at night races as well.
He's so weak during the day races. It's pathetic.
So we have a Dare to Swear, and then after that we've got the Austria doubleheader.
Isn't the French Grand Prix before that?
Oh, the French Grand Prix. I misread the big French Grand Prix.
I think it's
so a triple header,
but it might not be a triple.
The Franco-Österreich
check your local guides
triple
for
header.
Details.
It is.
Yes. But anyway, there'll be a Dare to Swear, and then we'll confirm what races are coming up as they come to hand. Zach, it's been great to talk to you. Listeners, it's been great talking to you as well. You're going to get to talk back, which is sort of your loss, really, but that's how podcasts work, unfortunately. I didn't invent them. I didn't make the rules. I just obey them. Don't hate the player.
Steve Jobs invented podcasting, and he didn't want to hear from you.
Very true. He wanted to keep us apart, even though we're friends. And I don't like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not you and me,
In fact-
the listener and me is what I'm anyway.
Yeah.
Got weird there. Fell apart a little bit, but I'm trying to hold it together. So Zach, we'll get to see next week. And until then, my name's been Rod.
And my name's been Zach.
Everyone take care, and we'll talk to you around that Netflix show. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah.
Around that. Whatever it's called.
What's his name? I don't even know. Keeping up with the